This is an article that came out in the cannabis, and this is really going over how bad it is in the US as far as morgue room is concerned. How bad is the opioid crisis? Morgues are literally out of room. Wow. But we know this has been going on for a while. But this go to show you how strong this plague is still going in the US. One by one, on a single day earlier this month, coroners from 8 counties contacted the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's crime lab. Each had opened a death case that required an autopsy, and each was told to call back the next day. There were no available tables, they were told. It's a response that isn't unusual. Several times on any given week, coroners have been told there's no room at any of the state's forensic labs until other bodies are released. The backlog has sometimes left local officials who rely on the state facilities scrambling to find ways to store bodies. Wow. Ooh, man. Meanwhile, anxious family members must delay funerals, burials, and cremations. Hope, officials hope the measure on the lab will lessen when a new, larger 6.68 million morgue, 17,511 square feet opens in November. Wow, they got to open bigger facilities for all the bodies that are coming in from drug overdose. Expanded intake and body storage areas at the Decanter site opened last week, but others caution the backlog could continue, fueled by a surge in opioid overdose deaths, a rising number of suicides, and Georgia's growing population. Wow. So they're saying they're getting a high number of overdose deaths and suicides coming in at the same time. Oh, man. Oh, man, that is crazy. Uh, it's tough. Catoosa County Coroner Vanita Hollinger said about the delays, these families have given up someone. Their whole world is upside down, and they can't even start their grieving. Hollinger said she has waited as long as 5 days before there was room at the morgue at GBI's Division of Forensic Science in Decanter, a 2.5 hour drive away. Recently, she alerted the medical examiner. There had been 2 deaths on the same day. The morgue could only take one body, and the second one could be delivered the next day, she said. Fewer autopsies. Autopsies are required in some states, like in obvious homicides when a child dies, or if illicit or prescription drugs are suspected in a death. While Fulton, Cobb, DeKalb, and Gwinnett counties have their own medical examiners and handle their own autopsies, the 155 remaining counties rely on the GBI's 15 pathologists and 3 morgues, Rockdale, Hall, Barrow, and Henry counties sometimes turn to DeKalb County for their autopsies. Wow. This is crazy, but this is America's reality now. This is a daily reality in America. Prior to the opening of the new cooler, there was often not enough space to accept bodies until Others were released. Coroners would have to hold the bodies until notified when space became available. Wow. Until there's an autopsy, there can be no funeral. It's common for us to hold them. Richmond County Coroner Mark Bowden said of bodies that have to be stored for a day or for days because of the frequent lack of space at any of the state's three morgues. Boy, I couldn't do that job. I seriously, I could not do this job. I could not look at massive amounts of bodies coming in every day, and they're either suicides or drug overdoses. Hollinger called some of the changes alarming and arguing, for instance, that those over age 55 shouldn't automatically be disqualified from autopsies as the new changes require. The rise in overdose deaths has increased the workload for pathologists. Okay, so I guess if you're over 55, they don't even want to autopsy you. It's probably, they're overwhelmed. So I get it. They have been increasing steadily since 2013 to 776 last year, according to GBI statistics. So far in 2017, a quarter of all overdose deaths have been attributed to fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid. The whole process sucks. According to GBI, there are a total of 26 full-time forensic pathologists working for the state and in the four metro Atlanta counties that have their own medical examiners. That is well below what is recommended for a state of its size. As a general guideline, there should be one full-time forensic pathologist per 200,000 population. The GBI wrote in a report to the governor asking for funds for more staff for the morgue based on Georgia's population of approximately 10 million. Georgia needs nearly twice the number of forensic pathologists as the currently working in the state. Last year, each of the medical examiners performed 325 to 350 autopsies, a total of 3,609 autopsies. So far this year, the lab has performed 2,657 autopsies. Meanwhile, the national standard is 250 autopsies per pathologist. Wow. I mean, where do you keep getting all this funding from? That's what I'm talking about. You know, like I said, we are looking at what's going to bring America down. Seriously. We're looking at exactly what's going to bring it down. On August 27, Bates called to request an autopsy, but there was not an autopsy table available until August 29th, which meant uncertainty in that family's funeral planning. That was not bad. It has certainly gotten better since the first of the year, said Bates, who stores body at the local hospital until the state's crime lab has room. This year, the state legislator have the GBI money to hire 5 additional part-time morgue staff, as well as give pay raises to pathologists to make the crime lab more competitive with Georgia's counties and other states and hospitals in hiring. The lab can now pay a starting board-certified pathologist $195,851 a year. Hey, y'all, we need to become pathologists in the Black community, which is more than the GBI director's salary, but less than other states. The chair of the Augusta University Pathology Department makes almost $429,000, and an associate there makes more than $218,000. I think our new morgue will hold us 10 years, said GBI Director Vernon Keenan. What we'll need is more doctors. A lot of times doctors will also do work at the morgue, and these are sometimes doctors that you're looking at, in a family practice or at a hospital, and they also will do work at the morgue. I do know that from talking to a few doctors before in the past. Contributing to the morgue backlog is one persistent problem. Remains that either remain unidentified or otherwise in limbo. The number of identified bodies at a morgue changes day by day. On September 13th, there were 33, including the body of a 66-year-old woman that had been there since November 27th, 2015. Her relatives cannot agree on burial arrangements. Wow. You can't agree on burial arrangements, so you leave your loved one freezing there all that time? That's disgusting. The body of a 60-year-old woman who died of natural causes in Clayton County has been stored at the morgue in Decatur since November 27th, 2015, because the GBI and local authorities cannot locate her relatives. A recently located friend has offered to pay for a funeral. At the same time, the morgue is storing 277 unidentified remains. At least one set of skeletal remains date back to 1969? Oh my God! We're working to have them buried, but we have to have the authority to do it or get a court order, Keenan said. It's time to bury the unidentified. 1969? Yeah, you should have been put that damn thing in the ground. I mean, oh my God, a set of skeletal remains since 1969? That's outrageous to keep something like that in the morgue for this long. Wow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave the link to this article in the description box. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to my channel, please do. Peace, family.